Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC Vegas 24. Remember to smash the like button in the comment section. Tell us who you think the apple pie shitter is this week. And I think I retweeted something recently about a movie club that we're starting. We're watching the movie Oni Mahoney. We're going to be, there'll be a show released soon with some special guests. It's a Canadian like gambling movie, real like degenerate stuff. Good watch. Cody, are you going to get into it? I retweeted, it's on YouTube. You can watch it for free. Cody, are you going to get into it? I'm telling you.
Okay, so
Philip
movies
Seymour
that they
Hoffman's
give away. Yeah, movies that they give away on YouTube for free are generally awful. This Uni Mooney, is that what you called it? Never heard of it.
Oni Mahoney.
Did you say it was a Canadian movie? So you got like the trifecta of absolutely terrible movie coming your way. It's Canadian, it's free on YouTube, and no one's ever heard of it. However, it somehow made the movie club via Pat Mayo. I believe it was, I don't know how he came across it, but yeah, I mean, if he's recommending it, might as well give it a shot. Nothing really else to do these days. So watching gambling movies, sign me up.
It's like an hour and 45 minutes of your time. And trust me, for me, like last week, absolute disaster. Went from like your belly parlays, like Goiti won that fight. So that one really stung. And then the UFC just playing stupid props, adding Jorgen De Castro. When I'm always against heavy chalk favorites. I just tried to force him in. I wanted something to parlay with Marvin Vettori. I played Jack Shore by sub, but I didn't play him straight up because I got greedy and didn't want the minus 170. Like whatever could have went wrong, did go wrong in that one. And yeah, the movie's kind of relatable because I had such a horrible gambling week. And, you know, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character in this movie, some may say he has a bit of a problem, but it's definitely worth checking out. I retweeted the YouTube link to it pretty recently, and Pat's got it all up on his feed.
Yeah, the fact that the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it, probably a decent movie because like he's one of the greatest actors of all time. You know, drug addict. But all things aside, I would give it a chance. Yeah, and the parlays last week, we had 13 fight offering. Yeah, the top bracket made it. If Sodiq Yusuff would have hit, we would have hit our 7-1s as well. Unfortunately, I thought he did good in the first 2 rounds, but it's the punch that matters, right? He got dropped. That's the most meaningful shot of the round. He lost those first 2 rounds to Arnold Allen, rallied a little bit back in the third, clearly did lose the fight. But overall, I was happy with it. I mean, my main thing is I got to hit that top bracket, right? I've got 3 guys on my top bracket. Sometimes it's 2, depending on the odds. Last week, I think it was about plus 207. I'm just trying to hit that. If I hit that, I'm not losing money. My worst case scenario is a break even, right? I have people that message me that'll be like, man, I put a unit on the top. They put a unit on all of them. It's like, that's on you, man. You're not supposed to bet the same amount on the first bracket, your most certain picks, as you are on a fucking PRP. But yeah. I'm not here to hold someone's hand. So if you lost money on it, ultimately that's on you. But hey, we're here to rebound. It's a long season. We always talk about that. Marathon, not a sprint. And we got another little decent offering coming your way. So hopefully if it wasn't a profitable weekend, we can get you back in the green. And if it was a profitable weekend, then we'll just keep that trainer rolling.
All right, we got the main event this week. We have Robert the Reaper Whittaker taking on Kelvin Gastelum. Robert Whittaker can be had for minus 270. Gastelum plus 230. Who you got, Cody?
Yeah, so definitely a fight that's been a little while in the making. We got Robert Whittaker coming in, taking on Kelvin Gastelum. Initially, obviously, probably a much more intriguing fight. You got Robert Whittaker taking on Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa with an illness, and that's why Kelvin Gastelum stepping in. And again, we know the narrative. We were supposed to get this fight already. Robert Whittaker weighs in. Both guys make weight. Robert Whittaker gets ill. He pulls out. Then you have Kelvin Gastelum walking around with the fake title. And quite literally, call it karma, call it what you will. But like his career's kind of been in a downtrend since then. When he's at his best, he's beating up aged legends, right? His run includes Tim Kennedy. That was the last fight of his career. Vitor Belfort, way past the prime. Michael Bisping. Jacare Souza. Like, listen, he's beating old men, and he can beat them in striking battles fine. As soon as he tries to take on one of these top 5, top 10 guys, his game just goes out the door. He's too small as a middleweight. Paul, you and I have this talk every single time we break down a Kelvin Gastelum fight. Guy's a natural welterweight, not a natural middleweight. And eventually he's going to catch up to him. If he's fighting these geriatric 40-plus-year-old strikers on their way out, then yeah, he'll probably will catch them at some point. If they have one eye like Michael Bisping and taking the fight on like 2 weeks' notice in China, yeah, he's going to catch these guys. It's beyond that. I just don't quite think he's there. Now, the Israel Adesanya fight, that's the outlier, right? I mean, that's the one fight where it's like, damn, this guy's got it all in that fight. He gets the takedown over Adesanya. He strikes with him very competitively the entire way. He's probably got this fight 2-2 going into the 5th round. So, I mean, he's 1 round away from being the legitimate middleweight champion of the world. He head kicks Adesanya. Like, everything's going his way. And then in that last round, he gets what? Knocked down 4 times. It's an absolute life-changing beating at the hands of Israel Adesanya. On one hand, it propels the champ, Izzy, to like that superstardom, you know? Geez, this is a guy that can pull through in the clutch. He needed that 5th round. He came through. He put on a masterclass performance. With Gastelum, it's like, okay, don't worry. We'll go back to the gym. We'll go back to the drawing board. We'll get back here. But since then, it's like he's switched up his style. The Darren Till fight, which was the next fight after Adesanya, he didn't want to strike. He didn't want to fight. He literally stood there and watched the moment pass him by. One of the worst fights you'll ever see. And yes, he does lose. Despite it being a split decision, him having like the slight, dude, you land 40 significant strikes in a 5-round fight, and I get Till only land like 36. That's kind of Till style. It's like, what happened? You were bum rushing Adesanya. You were closing the distance. You were closing the gap. You were making me look foolish for saying you're too small as a middleweight, because here he is having no trouble closing the distance and getting to a long rangy accredited striker like Israel Adesanya. But against Darren Till, another long rangy guy, didn't want to attack him. Against Jack Hermanson, he, despite having all the striking advantage over Jack Hermanson, he opts, I want to get Jack Hermanson down to the ground. Terrible move. Leads to the heel hook, no problem. And then the Ian Heinisch fight, again, he didn't want to strike with Ian Heinisch. He scores 6 takedowns. That's his path to victory, using that wrestling. So coming here on short notice against Robert Whittaker, if Robert Whittaker is damaged goods, and by the way, Robert Whittaker is a guy that's been through absolute hell in the UFC. He's a guy that you look at all the numbers. I mean, he's been hurt pretty bad. The Yoel Romero fights, that's going to take something out of you. Darren Till basically almost knocked him out. He had him seriously stunned in that fight. You go back to even like way back when Stephen Thompson at welterweight knocks him out. Court McGee beat him up. Colton Smith of all people had a knockdown over him. It's like maybe it's damage accumulating. Maybe it's starting to get to him. But like Robert Whittaker seems to be maybe missing a step, so to speak. But then you see him in the Darren Till fight, hurt. But here's a recurring theme with him. When he's hurt, he's not shying away from the fire. He's running into it. And I thought he legitimately won the Darren Till fight. He gets hurt, but he rallies back. He does the damage. He lands the numbers. He keeps coming at you. The Yoel Romero fights, whether you thought he won those fights or not, when he gets hurt, he finds that extra gear. He is truly a champion. He's a guy that was the middleweight champ, lost it to Israel Adesanya, but he's still got those characteristics. He's still got that back class. And then the Jared Cannonier fight. Here's a fight where I have to eat some crow, because I'm thinking, you know what? Cannonier is just too strong, too heavy set. He's going to clip him at some point. And you see Whittaker, he's getting hurt in all these fights. He's getting dropped by all these guys. He's getting stunned in a lot of these spots. If you get hurt by Jared Cannonier, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And middleweight Cannonier is just a different level. Ever since he got that crystal, of those crystals, and dropped down to 185 pounds, you do not want to play with Jared Cannonier. But again, you see that championship caliber out of him, where it's just like his striking is like leaps and bounds more better than a lot of these guys in the division. His ring IQ is there. When he gets hurt, he's not in it to quit. It's like he just finds that next way. He can find a plan B. He can find the next path of victory. He can make mid-round adjustments. That's all important stuff. So coming into this Kelvin Gastelum fight, I think it's competitive, and that Kelvin Gastelum's got a cast iron chin, right? So if you want to fight this guy for 5 rounds, you're quite literally going to have to fight him for 5 rounds. Wrestling is something that Whittaker has in his back pocket, not offensive wrestling, but taking him down is a serious problem. And the way Kelvin Gastelum's been fighting lately, it's a lot of using that offensive wrestling. So if Gastelum goes out there, shoots a couple takedowns, doesn't take Whittaker down, which I don't expect him to, we got a striking battle on our hands. And looking at the numbers, looking at the strike itself, looking at the level, I'd say Robert Whittaker is a better striker. He's going to throw more volume. He's going to throw the more significant strikes. He's the longer rangier guy. He's got a better jab. He can fight from the outside. And he should be able to just rack up these points on KG. So I think this fight's going the distance. Straight up, the money line is not very good for Robert Whittaker. No. I think like a lot of people are on his side. And this is live underdog Kelvin Gastelum, in that he can make it a dog fight if he chooses to. He hasn't been doing that lately, but he's still capable of it. He does have that chin. And as far as fighting 5 rounds goes, like Kelvin Gastelum's, because he's the natural welterweight, coming up to middleweight, like cardio is not really a problem for this guy. He's got a lot of those intangibles. I just don't think he's ever going to get past the hump. I don't think he's going to make it quite to that next level. Fought for a title very competitively. Maybe that was him over the hump. I think that might have been like a one-off, like he used up that little bit of magic. And I could be totally wrong here. I don't like this money line. So would I be chasing to get a better price on this? Is I'd go Whittaker by decision, or just hitting some of those over on the rounds. Over 3.5, over 4.5, fight goes the distance.
Over 4.5 is minus 150. And yeah, I kind of agree with you. My problem in this spot, the minus 270. Like, I think if these guys fought 10 times, Whittaker probably wins 6 to 7. Probably more like 7. I wouldn't, if it got up to like minus 400, completely out of the territory, but I think the line is more or less correct here. If I was forced to actually make a bet on it, it would be Kelvin Gastelum, but I've never loved him at middleweight. Luckily, he's fighting a former welterweight, but Whittaker's really packed on some muscle. He doesn't look too out of place in this division, and Gastelum's just never really fit in. So I'm kind of with you. I'd prefer the over 4.5 at minus 150. My favorite play here. I'll lean towards Whittaker winning the fight, but don't really think there's very much value. We got Jeremy Stephens taking on Drakkar Klose, minus 120. Stephens plus 100. Klose, who you got?
Yeah, so this is Jeremy Stephens going back to 155 pounds, and I think that could kind of be the problem. So what we saw with last weekend with Sam Alvey is that Sam Alvey was winless in his last 5. Yet a lot of people were still picking him for whatever reason, because again, styles make fights. But this is Alvey looking for something new. Now he was dropping back down, but like he had spent his last 7 fights at 205 pounds, wasn't fighting the success that he thought he'd have at light heavyweight, and then decided late in his career on a bad stretch. Like I said, he had lost 4 in a row, and then he had the draw. This is not a great look for Sam Alvey. Winless over his last 5, going back down to middleweight, and the result against Marquez is just abysmal. I mean, he looked pretty bad. Now you can argue that Julian Marquez looked really good, something that I thought might be the case just because he had so much ring rust in that last fight against Maki Pitolo that surely quick turnaround back in the gym, he'd look better here, and he did. It was also, the writing was on the wall there for Sam Alvey. When I think about Jeremy Stephens, this guy's legendary. He's legendary in that he's been fighting in the game for a very, very long time. I mean, he made his UFC debut in 2007 against Dean Thomas, of all people. He's been around for a very long time, and he's fought the absolute who's, all the best guys that have ever fought in the game. You can't discredit Jeremy Stephens at all. When he made his move down to 145, it was like, fine. Jeremy Stephens finally fighting at his proper weight class, 145. Dude always had a lot of power at lightweight. I mean, if that translates to 45, even if it's better at 45, great. But again, I mean, it's like father time catches up to everybody. And Jeremy Stephens is only 34 years old, but he's been fighting for a very, very long time. And as far as them matching up against the best guys, it hasn't been overly going his way. When you run it back, the Doo Ho Choi fight, he loses the first round, catches him in the second. Got that power. The Josh Emmett fight, I thought he lost the first round, but again, catches him in the second. Dude's got that power. Jose Aldo melts him, but it's Aldo. He's one of the greatest of all time. You give him the pass. Zabit Magomed Sharipov, again, dude, it's Zabit, and especially in a 3-round fight where he can just kind of matador you for the first 2, like you're going to have problems. The Yair Rodriguez fight, the first time, you say, wow, is a no contest because of the eye gouge. But the second time, it's like he loses pretty clean here, all 3 rounds. Yair just too fast, fights from the outside. Calvin Kattar is a sharp technical boxer, and he pieces him up and he knocks him out. And that was only the second time Jeremy Stephens had ever been knocked out. So now you got to think 34 years old, he's 28 and 18, man. I mean, that's for a reason. Dude's lost 18 fights because he's there to be an entertainer, but he's there to get hit. If his chin's starting to leave him ever so slightly, it's going to be a problem. And him going back to 155 pounds, again, it's going to be a problem. Now, what they've done is a big favor for him in giving him Drakkar Klose, who doesn't figure to chin check anybody.
Nobody.
So if Jeremy Stephens was feeling some ill effects from that last knockout loss, it's probably not going to rear its ugly head here. The problem I do have is that Jeremy, being the smaller guy, he needs to back up Klose consistently, and he's got to land those strikes. I mean, he's one of these guys that he loves that low calf kick, right? And he loves just these looping overhand shots. And with Klose, I just feel like Klose is just going to start to, accumulate a lead on the scorecards. Like he's just going to land the jab. He's just going to control him against the cage. He's just going to try to pressure him a little bit. One thing that Klose does well, he's a generalist, but one thing he does well is that he's able to just control little actions of the fight. He can strike from the outside. He's good in the clinch up against the cage, and he just wears time off the clock. Now, a lot of these are crappy decisions, but they give it to Drakkar Klose. I thought he lost the Bobby Green fight, but again, they just give it to him based on control, I guess. Neil Dariush knocks him his last time out. That's a little over a year now, but I mean, dude, he had been Neil Dariush massively hurt in that fight. I think that there's a lot that you can like from Drakkar Klose. He's just one of these guys that's not going to knock anybody out. Now, he too is 33 years old. He's only a year younger than Jeremy Stephens. The difference here is that he's got 14 fights, and Jeremy Stephens has 18 losses. You know what I mean? He's got more losses, and the kid's got pro fights under his belt. I mean, that in itself is just goes to show you that wear and tear. This is probably another pass-worthy fight, just because could I see Jeremy Stephens coming in being a live like a live fight? For sure, but he's minus 120 versus the plus 100 and Drakkar Klose. It's pretty much even money. I'd want to say dog or pass would be Drakkar Klose, but you're not really getting much dog money out of that. This figures to be, for me, another fight that goes the distance. Jeremy Stephens could chin check anybody, and we have seen Klose get knocked out his last time around. But for the most part, he's one of these guys that just goes through the motions, goes through the 15. With Jeremy Stephens back at 155, power might not quite be there. His cardio might be a little bit better. His speed might be a little bit better coming back up to 155 pounds. But I don't know. I get this impression that with Stevens, like his best days are certainly behind him. And when I go back to that Sam Alvey reference, is that Stevens is on a terrible run here, dude. Again, he's winless in his last 5. He's cleanly lost his last 4. He's not won pretty much any rounds in those last 4 fights against the best guys in the world. Don't get me wrong. And now you're searching for something, you're searching for something. Well, you go back to 55. I don't know that it's the answer. So, pretty reluctantly, I think that the smart move probably pass on this one, but I'm kind of feeling a Drakkar close decision beyond that fight to go the distance. I'm not like super, super confident in it just yet.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's really tough to know what Stevens is going to look like. We haven't seen him since basically a year now. So he was putting in a bunch of time with Dominic Cruz. Cruz looked great last time out. I mean, in fairness, this is the easiest fight Jeremy Stevens has had in quite some time. When you go through, like, Lil Heathen is taking on, the cream of the crop. Calvin Kattar, just coming off of a title fight. Yair Rodriguez, very, very talented mixed martial artist, great skill set. Zabit, 3 rounds Zabit is a trouble for anybody. You got to extend them, and obviously he doesn't want those fights. And Jose Aldo, I mean, that one was kind of a surprise, getting finished in the first round against Aldo, but I don't hate Stevens in this spot. We'll wait until the weigh-ins come and see if anything kind of jumps out at us, but right now I would pick Stevens, but no bet. Luis Pena takes on Alex Munoz. Pena minus 150. Alex Munoz plus 130. I mean, Alex Munoz, he's most infamous, I suppose, for the Nick Newell fight, where it felt like they didn't really want Nick Newell in the UFC. They gave, the guy with one arm, a freaking wrestler who was just going to, take him down and hump him. That was a really, really painful fight to watch. Comes out against Nasrat Haqparast in his first proper UFC fight and just kind of gets, loses most of the exchanges, gets outstruck 3 or 4 to 1. He's a wrestler. He's going to probably stick to that game. Obviously Pena's 6'3" lightweight. Has good grappling chops. You used to train at what's the name of the sand? AKA, of course. But now now he's in
ATT.
Is he at ATT now? Okay, I didn't even know. I hadn't followed him through to this camp. I never end up betting on Luis Pena. Do you have a hot take on this one? Because I don't.
Yeah, to be honest, I'd be willing to just take anybody against Luis Pena at this point. I think he's total bust. So he comes into the UFC and he's supposed to be, he was off the Ultimate Fighter. And even though he hurt his ankle on the show, it might have been a skin infection. They believed this guy should have been the champion. He should have been the champion. So they give him Richie Smullen, another cast member of the show, his UFC debut, and he's a minus 370 favorite. Right away, you see this love for Violent Bob Ross. Oh, he's got a funny nickname. He's got an afro. He's tremendous for this weight class. 6'3", 75-inch reach for this weight. It's good God. So they give him the champ. They give him Mike Trizano. He's a minus 180 favorite over the Ultimate Fighter winner. On what basis? He's showing you nothing, but he's got an afro, Paul, and he's got a great gimmick. No. Loses the fight to Mike Trizano, and that's where you start to see his takedown defense isn't great. But beyond that, it's he's working at AKA. He's in there with the best guys. He's training with Khabib. He's training with Islam Makhachev. He's training with an absolute plethora of some of the best wrestlers in the world. Surely that it's going to get better, right? No, wrong. So his next fight, Steven Peterson. And despite the fact that he comes in as a minus 240 favorite, he surrenders 4 takedowns to Steven Peterson. Strange. Then he gets Matt Wyman, right? Comes in as a minus 380 favorite over Matt Wyman. Okay, so they're giving him these fights, and he's a 3 to 4-1 favorite in all of them. Matt Favola. Same thing. He's the favorite over Favola, and then, bam. Now he loses again. Now this is the second time he's bust as a favorite. He gives up 4 takedowns to Matt Favola. If you're keeping count, by the way, he got taken down twice by Smullen in his debut. He got taken down once by Trizano. He got taken down 4 times by Peterson. He got taken down once by Matt Wyman. He got taken down 4 times by Matt Favola. Then he beat Steve Garcia, who did take him down. And then his last fight against Kama Worthy, first time he never got taken down in his UFC career. Isn't that something, Paul? Isn't that something that this guy's given up multiple takedowns to every single opponent that he's fought in the UFC so far? Bad look. And so as far as being 6'3", he's got that long, lanky jiu-jitsu game. He can throw up arm bars, he can throw up triangles, he can try to fish for an omoplata, but this is 2021, man, and this is mixed martial arts at the highest level. Like, you don't want to be on your back. You don't want these wrestlers on top of you. You're giving up time. The Common Worthy fight was an embarrassment all around, because the first round, he doesn't even attempt any takedowns on Common Worthy. Like, I mean, we all know the way to beat Common Worthy is just punch him one single time in the face. He tends to topple over, but Luis Pena has no striking. And I mean, the striking that he does have, he has no power, right? So it's like, okay, take this guy down. That's the next path to victory for Common Worthy. In the first round, no ring IQ, shoots no takedowns, gives a pretty poor account of himself. In the second round, he does get the takedown. He easily takes the back. It's a Pena round. We're 1-1 going into the third. All you got to do is shoot one more takedown. You're going to be okay here. In the third round, Paul, he's gassed. He gassed right out. Now, call it bad weight cuts, and I think that this guy being that long, and I mean, he's still fairly young. He's only 27 years old. I think he's getting bigger. I think he's filling out the frame, and I just don't think that these weight cuts are as easy as they used to be. So at 155 pounds, he should be okay, but 6'3" at the weight class, it might be draining him. I don't know, but you did see him get tired his last time out against Common Worthy, right? So now he's supposed to fight on Drakkar Klose, and Klose's cornerman tested positive is what it is. So he's drawing Alex Munoz here. My worry with Alex Munoz is, Paul, we know what that guy can do. He's had a team alpha male. He wants to wrestle. The Nasrat Haqparast fight, he took Haqparast down in the first round. Wasn't able to replicate any of that moving forward beyond that. Ended up losing 30-27s across the board. But one, his chin checked out. Two, the guy fought all the way to the end. Three, who the hell makes an MMA debut or a UFC debut against Nasrat Haqparast? Like, it wasn't exactly a fair situation for him. Nasrat was also like a minus 350 favorite in that spot. So they didn't do him any favors. But again, this is a guy that beat Nick Newell very handily on the Contender Series. And then he has a win over pretty boy Troy Lamson on the Michigan regional scene after that. And Troy Lamson wrestled at Michigan State. Like, the guy's a pretty good wrestler. He goes out there and he shows, like, this guy's very strong. He's got that good wrestling. And as far as him being on top of Luis Pena, I think he could have a lot of success there in that spot. So, again, you're going to give me underdog money over anybody against Luis Pena. I'm willing to take the shot. I could not tell you what Luis Pena does well. He's not a very good striker. He's not a very good wrestler. He's not a particularly good grappler. He is good at taking the back against 6'3". He's got those long limbs. When he does take the back, he'll immediately put the body triangle in. And it is very difficult to get a guy with the body triangle off of your back. So he can just coast out these rounds. He did that against Matt Wyman. He did that against Steve Garcia. And he did do that in the second round against Common Worthy. So is it possible that he's able to just find the back, lock in the body triangle, and hold for a round? Yeah, but is that how you want to win fights? Is that a fighter's mentality? I'm gonna backpack this guy. That's my path to victory. That's Pena's path to victory. So they're giving you plus 125 on Alex Munoz. I think he'll look better in his second fight in the UFC. We see this all the time. Maybe it's octagon jitters. Call it what you want to call it. But the sophomore outing, the second time you're out there, you're a lot more comfortable. You've got stuff out of the way. You've experienced this already. I think that we're going to see a better version of Alex Munoz. He's going to go out there. He's going to secure the takedown. He's going to hold him down. He's going to win this fight. So plus 125, I'm going to take the underdog shot on Munoz.
All right, let's go. Dog or pass type of situation. All right, we got Bill Algeo taking on Ricardo Ramos. Algeo minus 120, Ramos plus 100. I mean, Ricardo Ramos is a guy that I thought kind of had. I thought there was something there when he first broke into the UFC. Obviously, he comes in, he takes on Tanaka, looks pretty slick, and like a lot of his highlights on like the regional scene, like the guy looked super slick. He's only 25 years old, so maybe we're still getting a work in progress here. Zahabi, he's not looking too great all that much, and then throws like a double spinning back elbow. Ends up getting the knockout there. Split decision win over Kyung Ho Kang. Obviously, he's losing to Nurmagomedov and Lerone Murphy, who I think are top 10 at least guys in this division, so no real shame in that. But he doesn't really throw all that much volume. I don't know if he's got the greatest wrestling game. Algeo definitely has more of a volume type of game. Doesn't have much power. It's a very interesting matchup. Watching tape and stuff on it, I'm leaning towards Bill Algeo by decision, just kind of based on volume, but I'm not too sure. I'm not feeling too hot about it. What about you?
Yeah, I think Bill Algeo goes out there and pieces this guy up, and then for the odds, I think it's pretty good. Now, I've been seeing a lot of love for Ricardo Ramos online. It's just, I don't think he ties it all that well together, and he's only 25 years old. He's at Team Alpha Male now. Surely he could make a lot of improvements, but I'll go back to 2016, that Legacy FC 51. So it was featured on, remember Dana White's looking for a fight? Like, they'd go around and eat some carnival food and do something stupid and then go watch a fight. And specifically, they're like, we're here to see Ricardo Ramos. Everybody just raves about this guy. He's the real deal. We're here to see him. He takes on Manny Vasquez, and he got choked out in a minute 45. So it was strange because he was billed as, a BJJ, like whiz, and he's got great grappling. And if you remember that fight, he just gets taken down like nothing, gives up his back and submitted. All right, fine. He's going to have to build his way back up. Beats Alfred Kazakian, training partner of Ronda Rousey. Comes to the UFC. Tanaka, Zahabi, Kyoho Kang. I didn't think he looked exceptionally well in any of those fights. The Ayman Zahabi fight in particular, loses the second round. The third round, he's losing, and then he throws the same telegraph spinning back elbow twice. Second one actually lands, knocks out Zahabi. Big win. Beats Mr. Perfect. That is actually a decent little win considering Mr. Perfect's no pushover. And then he gets Saeed Nurmagomedov knocked out. No big deal. Jeremy Newson fight doesn't look good. Eduardo Gagarori fight, it's a gimme. And then that Lerone Murphy fight in particular. It's like, what's he doing with those little like back kicks? Like, what's he doing? Like, he just doesn't tie his game together particularly well. And I think that's part of being 25 years old, still being green, still being relatively new, still trying to figure out your game. Is that, like, I don't know what he wants to do in there. Is he this grappling whiz? Does he want to get these fights to the ground? His wrestling offense is just not good enough to make sure that consistently I'll be able to take the fight to the ground. As far as his striking goes, it's more just like flim flam. It's flash. Like, he'll throw the spinning back elbow. He'll throw a flying knee. He'll throw, this little calf kick thing behind the back. Like, I don't know, but it's all flash. There's not a whole lot of substance there. Cardio doesn't seem to be an issue, but he kind of struggles the later the fights would go. I just don't really know what I like out of him. Whereas Bill Algeo, like, I like a lot out of this guy. First of all, he's a BJJ black belt, and he's a stud in terms of his kickboxing. You mentioned the fact that maybe he doesn't have a ton of power, but the difference between him and a guy like Drakkar Klose, and both of them don't have a ton of power, is that at least he's willing to go land 100 significant strikes and just batter you down. Confidence at his all-time high. Like I mentioned, he's got a black belt. He runs his own gym. The guy can wrestle. Bill Algeo can really do it all. They give him a debut against Ricardo Lamas. And again, they've done absolute no favors to this man by giving him a debut against Ricardo Lamas on short notice. And what does he do, Paul? He gives a good account of himself. He goes out there, he lands a takedown over Lamas, which a lot of people didn't see coming, lands 89 significant strikes, relatively kept the striking close. But when you're taking on a former title challenger, you're taking on a guy that's top 10, top 5 of the division, a guy that's been there, done that against the who's of the sport. That's a tough debut. So give him Spike Carlisle's last time out. Underdog against Spike Carlisle. Why would that be? It's like you and I were on the same boat. This guy can replicate the same thing that Billy Q did against Spike Carlisle. He's got a great gas tank. He's got great punch output. And even if you take him down, he's a black belt. So he'll work his way back up and he'll put the pace on you. And that's exactly what he does. I thought he looked really good against Spike Carlisle. He gave up 4 takedowns, but he made him work the entire time, broke him down, took him in some deeper waters, and beat him there. I think that's what he's going to be able to do against Ricardo Ramos. I could see him getting taken down early in the fight, even though, as I mentioned, Ricardo Ramos is wrestling not that great. That Bill Joe is one of these tall, lanky guys, and you can get in on his hips. Ramos spending time at Team Alpha Male. Obviously, that's something he probably has been working on. But ultimately, even if he does take down Billy Algeo is just going to get back up. And when he does get back up, you're going to see him just start landing 2 to 3 for every Ramos strike. Once Ramos starts to get hit and he starts to breathe heavy, he starts to question himself a little bit. Once he starts to question himself a little bit, he starts to telegraph and become a lot more predictable. And I think Bill will just slowly be able to pull away. This is not only a fight that'll have Bill Algeo pre-fight. It opened up -110. I think it's Algeo -125. So I'm in on both of those. But I could also see live betting him after the first round, thinking Ricardo Ramos would be good in the first round, might even win in the first round. But I think Bill just keeps going, and I think that's where he'll be able to find the holes and exploit this kid. So I'm going to take Algeo by decision.
Sounds good. All right, we got Abdul Razak Alhassan taking on Jacob Malkoun, -300 for Alhassan. Jacob Malkoun can be added for +250. This fight up at middleweight. Obviously, Alhassan has missed weight the last 2 times out. Obviously missed it against Munir Lazez, followed it up, missing 170 pounds against Chaos Williams and got, stretchered. That was a nasty knockout. Absolutely starched. Maybe that'll help the guy's gas tank. He's, always been kind of a 1-round type of fighter. You get him into the second round, the wheels start falling off. He doesn't throw too many strikes, and usually his opponent takes over. But moving up a weight class, he's 35 years old. Like, this guy kind of got started late in the game as it was. I know Malkoun looked horrible. It's a similar type of style matchup as taking on Phil Haas, and he got absolutely flatlined immediately. But -300 on Alhassan moving up a weight class. Like, oof. This is about as much of a pass as I've ever seen in my life. This is like, this just reeks of apple pie shit, Cody.
Paul, my friend, you're right. This absolutely reeks of apple pie shit. And Razak Al-Hassan, sorry. He's another one of these guys that falls in the same boat that, like, he's let people down numerous times as a heavy favorite, and yet styles make fights, man. And if you give him a winnable fight, he's going to come in as a big favorite. His losses in the UFC, Mayo Akhmedov, the first one, he was a minus 265 favorite over him. His second loss to Munir Laziz, he's a minus 350 favorite over him. And Chaos Williams is a minus 210. So here's a guy that's already shit in 3 apple pies as a sizable favorite. As you mentioned, 35 years old. He's actually only a few months away from his 36th birthday. And the blueprint's been written on him. He has no cardio. He can fight 1 round. Now, consider the guy's name's Judo Thunder, and he's a accredited judo black belt. His takedown defense, as soon as he gets tired, is non-existent. Mario Akhmedov takes him down 6 times. Sabah Hamasi took him down. Munir Laziz, who figured to have no wrestling, took him down 4 times. And this isn't these guys are great wrestlers or that his takedown defense isn't good. It's that once he gets tired, everything just goes right out the window. Now, what he does have is tremendous power. As far as welterweight goes, he was one of the heaviest punchers at 170 pounds. The problem is that you can't just be a heavy puncher. You got to be able to do other things like fight for a few rounds, have a decent chin, have decent defense, and all that stuff he just doesn't have. You look at the Sabah Hamasi fight the first time around, he got seriously rocked by Sabah Hamasi. The Nico Price fight, knocking out Nico Price 43 seconds, that's impressive. You're going to go out there and knock out a guy that's top 15, 43 seconds. It shows he's got the power. If he touches, if he connects, you're in a whole lot of trouble. But we didn't know that Munir Laziz turned out to be a big body, turned out to be a rangy guy, turned out to be a little bit better than we thought. With Chaos Williams, geez, we didn't really know that this guy had massive hand speed and big power. It's that it took fighting Alhassan to figure out who those guys were. With Malkoun, it's like we kind of know who this guy is. First and foremost, we like to laugh at Kelvin Gastelum not being a middleweight. This Jacob Malkoun is not a middleweight, man. He's 5'9". He's not a particularly big guy. He's Robert Whittaker's BJJ coach. He's appeared on 2 UFC cards now, both because of Robert Whittaker, right? Whittaker's on the card. Throw this guy out. Phil Hawes needed, 18 seconds to melt him because he shouldn't have been at that level. He shouldn't have been on a main card to begin with. It was a joke. Can he go to the drawing board and all of a sudden recorrect all these mistakes? I don't know. And with Phil Hawes, I'm not a huge Phil Hawes guy, but Phil Hawes has got 1 round. You know, he's an explosive athlete. He's got big power. He's got 5 minutes worth of cardio. That's it. Yeah, he made me look bad his last time out getting the win, but it's like, come on, man. He looked good for the first round. He looked like absolute shit for rounds 2 and 3. All he did was cling on to him against the cage. Like, it was a really bad look. But for that first 5 minutes, he's dangerous, and that's all he needed against Malkoun. I think the same thing with Alhassan. I think Alhassan's only got 5 minutes, but he'll need less than that. Once he connects on Malkoun, that should be it. Fighting at 185 should actually be better for him, right? He had bad weight cuts. He had bad cardio problems. So fighting up a higher weight class would be okay. The problem is going to be fighting up a higher weight class against somebody who's going to lean on you and grind on you and tire you out. But I don't think Malkoun's physical enough to do that. I don't think Malkoun's wrestling's good enough to get the takedown in the first round because of the judo background. What he needs to do is survive the first round, take him into 2, take him into 3. So as far as a pre-fight bet goes, it would have to be Alhassan by knockout. But again, this is another fight that you're going to want to look at the live betting opportunity, not to rebet Alhassan. But if this fight doesn't end in the first round, all of a sudden Malkoun's looking like he's got a shot because at some point he could just drag him to the ground. And one has to figure he is the BJJ black belt. If this fight did hit the ground and he was on top, he probably would have some success. I'm just struggling to figure out how he does that in the first round. And I think that this fight might only be 1 round. So probably take this fight to be the under, obviously, but I'm also going to look at Alhassan by knockout. The line, like you said, I mean, fool me once,
even those lines are horrible.
Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, which he's done at this point. You're going to be fooled the 4th time. Like, he's definitely prime apple pie shitter. He's done it many times before. This is another spot. But for a guy that, I don't want to get into like the whole personal shit, but for a guy that was accused of what he was accused of, the UFC is doing him a big favor here. 1, keeping him on the roster, and 2, giving him Jacob Malkoun. They like this guy. They like something they see in this guy. They're trying to get him back in the winning column. And I think that this should be the one. But I'm not going to be overly surprised if this gets to the second round and he completely gasses out again. And as always, probably got to wait to see the weigh-ins just to get that real clear picture of how these guys pair up with each other.
Well, in fairness to Abdul Razak Alhassan, that was all thrown out. All of those legal troubles. So
yes, and I don't even want to talk about it, but you're right. He was exonerated of all that shit, or else surely he would not have a job right now.
100%. So happy that it got thrown out, and that it was all, a whole bunch of malarkey. But yeah, the under is already juiced to minus 145. Like him by knockout is minus 149. I see. Like, does he win this fight 60% of the time by knockout? Like, the margins are very thin here. If Malkoun is his BJJ coach, it's 20-1 for him to win by submission. Is that crazy?
No,
we've never really seen it, in action, but I mean, you have to survive that first round clearly, but 20-1 Malkoun by submission. I don't even know if this guy's any good, but I know the Alhassan gasses, and if this guy's able to survive that early onslaught, and maybe the power doesn't translate up to 185 pounds. I mean, Malkoun looked horrible, but
we only saw him for a little bit. So
20-1 is 20-1.
Yeah.
Anyway, now let's move on. We got Andre Arlovski taking on Chase Sherman. Cody. Andre Arlovski, minus 120. Sherman, plus 100. Is Shermania running wild here? Because I don't really understand. I know our Andre Arlovski is old as shit, but it's the heavyweight division. Andre's fought the much better fighters. Sherman, this is a guy who's formerly, the worst heavyweight in the UFC. I don't say that anymore. We've definitely set the bar a lot lower than Chase Sherman at this point in time. I see the line keeps coming down. More people are piling into Sherman. I don't get it. Can you explain it to me?
Yeah, so the way I would see it is that Andre Arlovski, he's taking this fight on short notice, stepping in for Parker Porter. So yeah, it's like Chase Sherman's going to fight Parker Porter. Now he's got to take on Andre Arlovski. Like, isn't that one hell of a step up? But Andre Arlovski is they're sparring rounds, man. That's all they are. He just goes out there and he spars rounds. There's no knockouts. There's no power being thrown, and there's basically no fucking output. Like, he's one of my favorite fighters of all times, right? This is a guy that I originally got into the game being a massive Andre Arlovski fan, but like the fights are so boring, man. He's 42 years old and he's fighting excellent game plans. He went from Greg Jackson's camp, which is right down the shitter, to ATT, and then they put together the good game plans. It's like, dude, go in there against these kids and just land the one punch per round. Like, they're not even swinging on him. There's just way too much respect there. What I mean by that is you go back, okay, when he gets caught, he gets knocked out, sure. We don't even have to talk about that. Let's talk about him beating these prospects that nobody sees coming, right? The Junior Albini fight, the Felipe Lins fight, the Tanner Boser fight. Okay, well, the Lins fight, he lands 50 strikes in a 15-minute period, 50 strikes. Lins was not in good shape. Lins didn't really do anything. It's really low output. It's not a very particularly exciting fight, and Andre Arlovski edges it. The Tanner Boser fight, he got outstruck 68-34, and he won it. He landed 34 significant strikes over the course of 15 minutes. Probably should have lost the fight to Tanner Boser, but all Boser was doing was leg kicks, and all Arlovski was doing was throwing 5 punches per round, and the judges ended up liking the 5 punches per round, so they gave it to Andre Arlovski. Well, Paul, he doesn't hurt these guys. He doesn't sting these guys. He literally just stands there. It's you could go to any gym in North America and watch a sparring session, and that's all he's doing, right? So with Chase Sherman, it's not like Chase Sherman's a world beater by any stretch, but Chase Sherman has a decent chin. Chase Sherman's got much better output. He's also the bigger, longer guy, and so could he stay to the outside and just chip away and try to make something happen for himself? I think so, man. He's 6'4" with a 78-inch reach. So if you want to play that game, great. Now here's the thing with Chase Sherman: he's not really a stay to the outside jab kind of guy. He's don't move your head, move straight forward at the guy and come at him. And a lot of the times they're countering him and they're hurting him, but Arlovski doesn't really have that same power anymore. So I don't think he hurts Sherman and keeps him off him. What I probably see happening is Sherman just outpointing him. So as we talked about with Arlovski, it's like he lands 30, 40, 50 significant strikes over the course of 15 minutes. Like, Chase Sherman's quite the opposite. He lost to Augusto Sakai. He landed 79 strikes in before getting knocked out, right? The Willis fight, 70 strikes. His last fight against Ike Villanueva, he lands 51, and it's 49 seconds into the second round. He landed more strikes through one round than Arlovski does in an entire fight. Now, again, it's against Ike Villanueva, but Andre's not fighting world beaters. He's fighting Felipe Lins. He's fighting Tanner Boser. Like, this is the level that Andrei Arlovski is operating at nowadays. So it's not that both of them are live. Both of them could win this fight. They're not giving you a good line either way. Chase Sherman is a plus 105 underdog. And to be quite honest, I'm kind of feeling the same thing. It's a dogger pass type fight.
Oof.
Listen,
You're sick. You're sick.
I know. They're bottom end heavyweights. You got Chase Sherman's 11 years younger than Andrei Arlovski. He's also a guy that fought 5 rounds against the bare knuckle boxing champion of the world, Joey Beltran. And like, he can take a shot. He's not training in Nowhere, Mississippi anymore. You see his strength and conditioning is getting a lot better. You see he himself is improving. Confidence is coming up. And now they're giving him a fight with Andrei Arlovski. That's easy to get motivated for. Whereas Andrei Arlovski, who the fuck is Chase Sherman, right? Andrei's fought in everybody. He's been a former champion. He's fought in every organization that mattered pretty much, except for Pride, I suppose. It's like he's been around. He's done that. He's 42. Like, he's taking this fight on short notice. Like, is that the kind of thing you want to get behind? Again, I could see him winning this fight, but I could very easily see him losing this fight as well. I wouldn't want a ton of exposure on it, but ever so slightly, I would say it's dogger pass. And technically speaking, Sherman be the underdog. I'm kind of leaning that route myself.
I would say Pitbull or pass. Friends don't let friends bet on Chase Sherman, Cody. All right, let's move on. We got Bartosz Fabinski taking on Gerald Meerschaert. Bartosz minus 135. Gerald Meerschaert can be had 4 plus 115. Bartosz obviously coming off of the submission loss. That one particularly stung for yours truly against Andre Muniz. Obviously a bad spot and susceptible to the submission. You know, he always goes for these takedowns. We love him. We love his style. We know what he's going to do. Meerschaert obviously coming off of getting absolutely roasted by Chimaev. That seems like an eternity ago now. This is a weird fight. Like, usually I would say, like, Fabinski, Fabinski's going to be able to take him down, but we've seen that hole in his game now. We know that the guy falls into submissions. He leaves his neck open. Obviously, it was a beautiful armbar from Muniz. But yeah, you could tell when he got to the ground, if he's not able to just hold you and secure you, he is susceptible to the submission. So Gerald Meerschaert, love him or hate him, he is, I believe he has the most submissions in the middleweight division. I don't have a great read on this, but I don't want to I don't want to see my boy Bartosz get submitted and me have money on it. So right now where I lean, I'm thinking Meerschaert, and God, that feels sick just saying it out loud. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not going to bail on my boy Bartosz Fabinski just because of one slip up. Now, listen, we know what we're getting into when we bet Bartosz Fabinski. He is possibly the most one-dimensional fighter in the UFC. He comes in, he looks for the takedown. When he's on top, he holds you down, rinse and repeat for the course of 15 minutes. But you got to catch this guy. You got to hurt this guy. You got to submit this guy, or else he's just going to keep taking you down and smothering you. That's a massive problem for him. It's not like it's the most entertaining fights out there. It's just that it's dominating performance. You see him go out there in his first 3 fights in the UFC, Gareth McClellan, Hector Rubina, Emil Weber-Meek. You know what those 3 guys have in common? None of them have a job with the UFC anymore. None of them can wrestle. So Bartosz is going to go out there and he's going to have his way with those guys. Now he gets Michel Prazeres. Well, now you got a problem on your hands. Prazeres can do a little bit of everything. He's well tenured. He's got a lot of he's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve. And if you watch that fight, I mean, he gets seriously rocked by Michel Prazeres. Him being hurt gives up this guillotine choke, gets caught in the submission. Fair. He took like 2 years off after that, comes back against Darren Stewart. Now he moved up to 185 for the Darren Stewart fight. Weighs in at 181 pounds, so he was small. You and I both riding him as the underdog. And he just goes out there, takes him down, rinse and repeat. Nice little win. We're all happy. We're all Team Bartosz. Now this Andre Muniz fight. Andre Muniz is a 3rd degree BJJ black belt. Andre Muniz is the kind of guy you do not want to go to the ground with under no circumstance. But Bartosz has really no other path other than take a guy down. So what does he do? He takes him down. Now he gets locked up in the guillotine right off the bat. I'm sweating. I'm like, oh no, Bartosz, we're in the guillotine. Again, he got caught by Prazeres' guillotine. This seemed like a move that he kind of leaves his neck vulnerable. He doesn't tap to the guillotine. He fights his way out. And the second he fights his way out and pops out, it's like a breath of fresh air. Like, he's like, fuck yeah. And then whoop, armbar. It's like, oh no. That's what happens when you deal with a guy like Andre Muniz. He's a different level. He's very, very, very good off his back. You do not want to play that game with him. It was early in the fight still. He basically fell right into his trap. So coming into this spot, we got Bartos again. He's 34 years old. He's extremely one-dimensional. Like, why would you want to back him? But I think it would work here. With Gerald Meerschaert, he has all those submissions, and no doubt about it, this guy is a good submission guy, but he relies heavily on catching guys once they're already gassed out. So his submission wins are Duran win, which is coincidentally his last win overall. Third round submission, Duran win is completely gassed out. He hurts Duran win to the body, takes him down, gets the submission rear naked choke. The Trevin Giles fight, he lost the first 2 rounds. And in the third round, Giles is unbelievably tired, and he's able to catch him with the guillotine choke. The Oscar Pichota fight, Oscar Pichota is completely dead dog tired, and he catches him with the rear naked. So that's the trend there, is that Meerschaert a lot of the time is not really cruising by these guys significantly. They're close fights. It's that he's got a decent gas tank on him, and once you get tired, he ends up finding that move. I'm not sure if that's the case here. And another problem with Gerald Meerschaert is that he was notoriously known for like a cast iron chin. Like, knocking this guy out was going to be one hell of a problem. I mean, he hadn't been knocked out in any of his career fights. Now he gets matched up against Thiago Santos, right? If you remember that fight, he got knocked out in the second round. Mm-hmm. The shots he took, Paul, it was like, dude, Gerald Meerschaert's got one hell of a chin on him. But like anybody, age and just wear and tear catches up to you. So he's 33. He's a year younger than Bartos. But when you look at his 31-14 record, it's like, God damn, dude. He's got 45 pro fights under his belt, and now his chin is officially broken. Ian Heinisch knocked him out in a minute 14, and then Chimaev knocks him out in 17 seconds. He can no longer take a punch. But again, the UFC's matchmaking team has done an excellent job in giving him a guy that doesn't figure to do that. Just like we talked about with Whittaker Klose, not a power puncher. Bartosz Fabinski, not a power puncher.
Never won. Bartos has never won by knockout.
No, and this ain't going to be the first time. Let me go ahead and
great matchmaking for sure.
For sure, right? Because how do you keep a guy who's competitive against a certain level still fighting, right? Well, you got to give him these spots, and that's the spot they've given Meerschaert. So sure, he's lost his last 2, hasn't looked good, but losing to Ian Heinisch, no big deal. Losing to Chimaev, really no big deal. That's all well and good, but he talked a lot of shit before that Chimaev fight about how he was going to submit him, how he was going to beat him. He's got his hands up, wants to fight, and to me, this is just signaling like the end of the road is showing up for Gerald Meerschaert. He's taken a lot of damage. He's been knocked out in his last 2 fights. He's not quite the guy he used to be. Did he get robbed against Kevin Holland? Maybe, but talk about an exhausted, just a very, very sloppy fight. Doesn't bode great. So he's got the striking advantage over Bartosz Fabinski. This fight stays standing, he's going to chew up Fabinski. He's got the submission game over Fabinski. He maybe has a slight cardio edge over Fabinski. I agree with your assessment. I would agree that maybe Gerald Meerschaert's a live dog. I could see people making that shot. But for me personally, I'm going to roll with my guy Bartos again because, again, I mean, you can have those advantages. He's going to take you down. He's much stronger than Gerald, right? He's got a better takedown game. He's going to take him down. And when he does take him down, he's just going to land on top of him. Gerald's best submission is the rear naked, in which he'd have to get on Bartos's back. That's not going to happen. Or the guillotine. But Bartos stuffed out that guillotine by Andre Muniz. He was ready for it. You know, he took his time and got out. It was the armbar followed up. If he pops his head out of that Meerschaert guillotine, starts raining down very light ground and pound and secures a round, comes out and does it again for the second, I think he could be okay. The smart move would be pass, right? I'm clearly betting emotionally. I've got a Bartos bias. I like the guy. I like the guy in that you don't have to be the most entertaining guy in the world. Just go out there, take the opponent down, take the safe route. I know I shit on Andrei Arlovski for having a terribly boring style, and it's a striking style, but it's like he's just doing the bare minimum. Where it's like Bartos just doesn't know much more than what he's doing. Is he more effective at 170? 100%. Would I rather see him at 170? 100%. But Gerald Meerschaert's also a natural welterweight himself that just kind of outgrew the division as he got a little bit older. So I think it's live. Now, I would classify this thing as just like a dog or pass type fight. And in that regard, you're getting the underdog of Gerald Meerschaert plus 110. So I'm not going to shit on your side of things here, Paul, but I am going to roll one more time with my boy Bartosz Fabinski. If he loses here, he's effectively done. I won't put money on him anymore. But I got a feeling that his style might be able to pull one out here.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting a cent on Gerald Meerschaert. Why don't we just stop overthinking it? Bartos can't finish a sandwich. And if you think that, that Gerald's not going to get a sub on Fabinski here, why don't we just bet the over 2.5 rounds, minus 120?
Yeah. I would say so. I would say the over, and you're just hoping that he doesn't catch him with something, but yeah, if Bartos has his way, it's just a lot of top control and not much happening. Meerschaert has his way. He's the natural finisher in the spot, but yeah, I'm not fully seeing it. I'm also looking at if Bartos is going to win a fight, he wins it by decision, right? Which is plus 155 Bartos by decision. But Yeah, I mean, if you want to be smart with your money, I don't think this is the kind of, again, when we're building parlays, this is not a top ticket parlay piece. This is not a second level parlay piece. This is a guy that ends up third, not even third, fourth, fifth line down. He's on the PRP, right? You bet 0.1 of a unit on the PRP. You bet a 0.3 of a unit on your bottom end parlay. But as far as your safe picks that you might bet 1 to 5 units on, those are your key guys. This is not a key guy. There's just too many variables. He has, let us down a few times. But we see, the great thing about Bartos, and this kind of killed a lot of people with Jorgen De Castro. The best time to get Jorgen is the no expectations Jorgen. He's an underdog. You're not expecting anything of him. When the dude's a 3-1 favorite, like, you don't want to bet him. Are you kidding me? Bartos is kind of the same thing. He was the favorite over Muniz, and he shouldn't have been. And he's the favorite here, and maybe shouldn't be. If he's the underdog, we're both backing Bartos. As you start to have expectations out of Bartos, you realize he's extremely limited. Just like Jorgen De Castro, he's extremely limited. He can win a fight, but you'd much rather bet him at 3 or 4 to 1 than as a favorite, right? And yeah, I'll be the first one to admit Bartosz Fabinski is he's a no talent John Fitch. John Fitch could kind of do it all at least, but his best path victory was just blanket guys, right? Yeah. That's what Bartosz does as well, blanket guys, and that's what he's got to do here to get this win, just blanket. I'm hoping he goes out there and does that, but I could see it going the other way as well.
All right, we got Tracy Cortez taking on Justine Kish, minus 275 Cortez, plus 235 for Kish. Cortez coming back down to 125 pounds, which I think fits her frame a lot better. Any concerns about this matchup with Kish for her?
No, I think Tracy Cortez should have I wouldn't say a relatively easy time. One thing I'll give Kish is that she's extremely strong. Like, here's a girl that's very raw, tends to make a whole lot of mistakes, but physically very strong and aggressive, will come at you. So with Tracy Cortez, one thing that you got to keep in note is that she's not a great striker. She needs to get these fights to the ground. But as far as getting these fights to the ground, like, that's her bread and butter, and she seems to do it very well. I think that would be the path here for sure, is just routinely go out there, get the takedown, and just grind Justine Kish down. With Kish, if you look at her level of opponent, right? So she got submitted by Sabina Mazo the last time out. Mazo's as green gets and a natural striker. She beats Lucy Pudilova before that. Lucy Pudilova, not all that good, but she's a striker. Jiyeon Kim, split decision win. Jiyeon Kim is very much a one-dimensional striker. And then you get Felice Herrig. Now, that's the last time she took on a grappler. And that was a spot that was the eye-opener. Like, she was getting taken down relatively easy by Felice Herrig, and fighting off her back, no good. In fact, she fought so hard to get off her back that she shit her pants. Now, would I want to back Justine Kish fighting off her back? No, that's recipe for getting shit in my apple pie. And I'm just not going to have any of that. I think Cortez goes out there, secures the takedowns, holds Kish down. Kish she's also 33 years old. You saw her on The Ultimate Fighter way back when, and it was like she blew out her knee. That was the reason why she was no longer on Tough. And it seemed like she just had a lot of injuries that were like racking up. And that was way back in the day. Since then, you see, I mean, she fights once a year. She fought once in 20, or she takes a 2-year gap between 2014 and 2016, fought twice that year, fought once in 2017, fought once in 2018, managed to get 2 fights in last year, but loses that latter one by Sabina Mazo. And again, this is the problem, is that with Kish, she was always really green, really strong, but like maybe eventually she'll tie this game together. Seeing her lose to Mazo, who's like 20 years old and very green still, is like Kish is just not making those improvements. Did she look okay in the first couple rounds against Mazo? Okay, sure. But it's like, there's just not enough that you can like out of her. So with Tracy Cortez coming down to 125 pounds, you would think that this is the weight class she should be in. The wrestling should be even better. The strength should be better. She should be able to go get those takedowns. Literally the only one thing that could go wrong is that dropping the weight, coming down to 125, if she does have a bad weight cut and she's tired in that third round, Kisha's got good cardio. The thing there is that Kish ain't finishing her in the third round. Kish ain't finishing nothing, right? So even if Tracy Cortez just won the first 2, took the third round off, she still figures to win a 29-28 decision. That's kind of the road I see this one going. So I got Cortez by decision.
Cortez by decision probably is juice. Let's see here. What we got? Cortez by decision, minus 120. I mean, she better really than finish minus anybody.
Dog.
I think
you want to bet 265? No, minus 120. Okay. Cortez, yeah, no, she's not a finisher, and Kish is durable.
Yeah, all right. Cortez, I'm just adding it to my little bets list. I haven't made any bets because I got absolutely sparked last week. So I wanted to talk to you, make sure I've got some sense. So far, I've got Algeo, Munoz, considering Malkoun by sub. It's 20 to 1. So like just the smallest little punt, just a little Just a little taste.
Right.
And then Cortez by decision. Pretty much a pick on -120. All right. Next up, the people's main event, Cody Saftic. In my opinion, this is the fight I think most people are talking about. People have a lot of opinions on this fight. We got Alexander Romanov taking on Juan Espino. Romanov -130 favorite. Espino +110. We've loved Alexander Romanov on this program. Guy's a damn polar bear. He just kind of barges forward. Big issues that I see in his game that we've kind of seen show it rear its ugly head. The guy can't check leg kicks. We've seen it in both of his fights. Obviously against DeLima last time out, he was really eating some leg kicks. Big problems. And previous fight to that, he ate a couple, but it was, most of the time he just barges forward. He's like a bear. He's very strong. And he just barges forward, puts people in his element. Once he gets you to the ground, he's a 260-pound man who's putting every little bit of his weight on you. Espino's been doing the same thing, though. Obviously, Espino's older, 40 years old, but he's training at ATT with some of the best guys in the world. You see on his Instagram, he's with JDS, and I mean, the whole slew of characters that they've got over at ATT in their heavyweight division. Like, he's no shortage of bodies to work with. And I think you were kind of like disrespectful to this guy, coming off of the Ultimate Fighter. I feel like you've never really been all that impressed by Juan Espino. But watching the tape on him, yeah, I remember you were saying that like you didn't like him when he first came into I think he went to like decision with like Ben Sisoli on the Ultimate Fighter.
But he's fought such trash can opponents in the UFC. I've never bet against him. Justin Frazier and Jeff Hughes.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I think the best win out of these two guys' records is what Juan Espino did to Hughes last time out. That was, I think, the best performance or the highest level of competition that we've really seen from any of these guys. We know with Romanov taking on DeLima last time out. Like, what do you do against DeLima? Like, he's going to try to finish you early on. It's just like, if you can take the guy down, you'll find a path to victory. And his other... honestly, Juan Espino, going back and watching his fights, I'm pretty impressed. The guy's a shit brick house. Like, he doesn't look... He's not big and burly in that sense. He's just a thick, big dude. I think he comes in at 255, 6'3". Like, the size shouldn't be too different in this spot. He's just in better shape than Romanov. I wish I had seen at any time Juan Espino throwing leg kicks. That doesn't seem to be what he does whatsoever, but I think it's dog or pass, man. And we love Romanov. And Romanov's 30 years old. I think he can make tons of improvements. And, it's the heavyweight division. Give this guy 5 years, he'll still be fighting, at this level, and he could have a higher ceiling than Juan Espino. But right now, I think it's Espino or pass. What about you?
I mean, this is going to be another biased pick. Romanov's my guy. I'm a Romanov guy, so I'm going to bank on Romanov again. But listen, I fully understand that the issues here is that Romanov is he's got a sumo background, but he was also a Moldovan amateur wrestling champion. So he likes to wrestle. We know that about him. He likes to get these fights to the ground. When he gets these fights to the ground, he just works you. And he really lives up to this whole like King Kong moniker that, I mean, Romanov he'll double fist pound you. He'll just keep smashing away. You've seen that in the Roque Martinez fight where it's like, he literally just smashed him into oblivion until Roque is just so tired that he gets that arm triangle choke. The DeLima fight, he doesn't start off very good. DeLima stuffs the first couple takedowns, in fact. The leg kicks are starting to add up, but this is what he does. He just wears on you, and as soon as he wears on you and you start to fatigue and he gets on top of you, like, he's not going away anywhere. But what's really troublesome in the Roque Martinez fight is like his positioning. Like, the way he's sitting on Roque's chest, you can tell he's not a great grappler. It's just he's fighting a guy that's even worse grappler than him. Whereas, like, Juan Espino is a legitimate BJJ black belt. He's an accredited black belt. He's very slick. He's very precise. He's got it, right? As far as the wrestling goes, you got a Moldovan amateur wrestling champion against, a Spanish wrestling champion. But, I mean, Espino can wrestle as well. I mean, this is a guy that's wrestled, at a pretty high level, fairly high level, give a good account of himself. He's a big, thick dude. He can kind of do it all. He's got that wrestling. He's got that jiu-jitsu. That goes very, very far at heavyweight, where a lot of these guys aren't great wrestlers. They aren't great at grappling. and they don't got great cardio. And Espino's been able to use that very well. Comes on to the Ultimate Fighter, ends up winning the show. My problem is that even when he was on the Ultimate Fighter, I mean, he's already an elder statesman. I mean, that fight that you're referring to, the Ben Sassoli, right? He's 37 years old at the time that he's on the show against fighting Ben Sassoli to a 2-round decision. You rewatch that fight as well. Like, it's only 2 rounds because it's an exhibition fight. But
I couldn't find that. I was trying to watch that one.
Yeah, it's just like it's not the greatest look, right? So now you fight in the finals, or you get Maurice Green, right? It's like, okay, Maurice Green, a former glory kickboxer, 6'7",
he whooped his ass. He absolutely whooped. He whooped him. That was like Maurice Green has looked a lot better. Like, and I think that's why a lot of people like full out faded Maurice Green in like every single fight. Is like watching that he got absolutely mollywopped by Juan Espino.
So what do you think happens to Maurice Green if he fought Romanov? Be serious here. He gets mollywopped. It's a non-competitive fight. It's just a great style, right? So now you're in the finals of the Ultimate Fighter and you get Justin Fraser? Like what?
Nice little two-piece combination to knock that guy down, though.
Yeah, and you know what? Shockingly enough, he was only a -170 favorite over Justin Fraser, which is like, man, even though that he won his 2 fights on the Ultimate Fighter and he has this grappling base and he has this wrestling and he has all these different acumens, like they still didn't really think much of him. And then he gets a Jeff Hughes fight. Now people they know what's up. But again, so you beat Justin Fraser, you get the Ultimate Fighter title put around your waist. And then he took 2 years off between 37 and 39. Comes back and beats Jeff Hughes. Like, bro, you're just letting time pass you by. You're letting the best years of your career pass you by. Now he's 40, and now he's a heavyweight contender. You go online, and everyone's talking about, like, this is the next guy that's going to end up fighting for the title. It's like,
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I never said you did. I said you go online, and it's like gargle, gargle, gargle. Juan Espino is the next great submission machine. I saw one guy compare him to Fabricio Verdun and say we haven't seen a ground guy like this since Fabricio Verdun. Fabricio Verdun beat Fedor. He beat Alistair Overeem. He beat all the best guys. He fought all the best guys. Why? Espino's coming wins of Jeff Hughes and Justin Fraser. Those are his 2 wins over the last 3 years. He's 40 years old. He's training at ATT. Who'd you say with? JDS? Big fucking deal. But I'll tell you why.
They got Jairzinho, Rosenstrike. Like, I mean, they've got guys there. They've got Andrei Arlovski. Like, there's a wealth of talent, and looking at who Romanov trains with is just like some random guys in Moldova. Not that may not matter whatsoever, but
no, but it might too. You know, he's training like in a shed in Moldova with nobody. And so I agree with your assessment. I don't know that I want to jump all the way on Espino. So what do we like out of Romanov? Okay, these are the things that I like out of Romanov. 1, 10 years younger. You can't deny that. He's 30 years old versus 40 years old. He's coming to his own. He's getting confident. He shows up in great shape for the heavyweight division. But the big thing here is that the guy's got cardio. And he seems to be a very good athlete for a dude that comes in at 260 pounds. He moves very well on his feet, right? But he knocks out Dalim in the first round. Sure, the Roque fight is late into the second, dude. It's 9 minutes and 22 seconds into the fight. Late into the second. His cardio looked impeccable. That fight was Sultan Mirzaliev on the regional scene, which is a 3rd round TKO. This guy is not going anywhere. He just smash until you can't keep up anymore. Is he a good striker? No. Is he a great grappler? No. He's a pretty solid wrestler, and he's got a good gas tank, and that'll take you places in the heavyweight division. And so how does he match up with Espino? Well, let's say wrestling nullifies itself. If he gets taken down by Espino and Espino's on top, I know you're going with Espino, I am in some trouble. I do not want to be on my back with Juan Espino on top of me. It would be a massive, massive problem. But the lower center of gravity, good hips, quick mobile guy with a wrestling base, I could see him going out there and stuffing a few of these takedowns, keeping it standing. Now, as far as standing, they're not great strikers. However, Alexander Romanov is a better striker than Juan Espino.
Is he?
If the fight does stay, I think so. I think he's got faster hands. He throws in combination, and I think he's got the better cardio. And cardio is what it's going to come down to, is that I can tell you Romanov's fought twice deeper into the rounds, and his cardio looked good. Whereas with Espino, it's like he's finishing these fights pretty quick. I don't know that his cardio is that good. He's 40 years old. He's fought effectively 3 minutes and 48 seconds in the last 3 years. That's ring time. In the last 3 years, he's got less than 5 minutes worth of actual octagon time. So You can train at ATT, you can do all these things. But again, we talk about this all the time. Father Time, undefeated. If he goes out there and doesn't finish in the first round, are you confident that he fights into the second and third round, no problem? No, you're not confident because you've not seen it. And so, yeah, I'm going to say I give the Romanov cardio advantage. I give him a slight boxing advantage.
I'm not sure about the boxing advantage. I haven't been I like Romanov, and like, man, he looks... If Juan Espino just knows how to throw leg kicks, you go through all the tape, and it's like, he just doesn't throw them. But that is a serious... Like, going through the Roque Martinez fight, he hits him a bit there. And then I remember, like, following through onto the next fight, being like, let's see if he's fixed that. And De Lima was absolutely chewing those legs up. He does not defend against them. It's a big problem. And I guess when you're a wrestler, when you're a freaking polar bear like Romanov is, I guess the idea is like, okay, I'm cool with people throwing leg kicks on me because I want to take them down anyway. If they're throwing leg kicks, then I can just barge forward and drive them to the mat. It kind of works out, but somebody's gonna really exploit that hole in his game unless he doesn't check it, he doesn't defend anything. Someone's gonna really fuck him up, and I don't know if that's Juan Espino because I haven't seen it from him, but it's a big concern for me, and it's obviously a big step up, honestly, for both guys. It's a hell of a fight. I don't think either one of us is like overly confident in this whatsoever. You like Romanov. I'm gonna lean towards Espino. I don't have any money on it for the record.
Yeah, my last thing there is that when you look at Romanov, it's like Roque Martinez is a striker. So Roque Martinez throwing leg kicks is not unheard of. Marcos Rogério de Lima is a Muay Thai black belt. He likes to throw leg kicks. He's predominantly a striker. I'm not shocked that those guys try to kick his leg. Juan Espino is not a striker. And so coming in with some game plan of like, I'm going to kick him because strikers have kicked him, it's not going to translate the same, dude. He doesn't have the same leg kicks, nor does he have the ability to go out there and line him up 10 times.
Oh,
and then the last thing is,
that's why I was saying.
Did it look like Romanov? Did it look like the kicks were hurting him?
I didn't say that Juan Espino was going to. I didn't say that Juan Espino was going to throw leg kicks. I was saying if I had seen him throw leg kicks with all of the other things in this matchup, I would definitely be betting Juan Espino. But I haven't seen him do it, so how can I expect him to do something I've never seen him do before?
Yeah, this could be a slopper, an absolute slopper. But your one point that I will 100% agree on, no questions asked, is people's main event for sure, dude. I absolutely cannot wait for this fight. It's going to be great times.
Honestly, yeah, it's basically the fight of the... It's my favorite fight on the card, to be perfectly honest.
Why is it on the prelims of a shit show card? Like, this should be co-main event. You need to promote heavyweights, man. Promote this fight.
Yeah. Make heavyweights great again. All right, we got Tony Gravely taking on Anthony Birchak, minus 340. Gravely plus 280. Birchak, who you got, Cody?
I'm going to go Tony Gravely. I think that his chain wrestling probably wins him out the day. With Anthony Birchak, no doubt about it that this is a guy that wrestled at Arizona State University. He knows how to wrestle, but again, like, I hate trying to drum. I know you've always called me way back in the day like an ageist, like, Cody's never betting on the old guy. And it's like
you just shit on Juan Espino because he was 40 in the heavyweight division when like everyone fights until they're 40 in the heavyweight division. So yeah, continue though. It's you're definitely not an ageist anymore, there, pal.
No, you're right. And we've got Andre Arlovski, 42. I'm going to look to fade him. Alhassan, almost 36. Definitely didn't like that, although I ended up going with him. Espino, 40. Gonna have to fade that. Jessica Penne, we'll talk about later, 38. Looking to fade. And now we got Anthony Birchak. It's like he's seen better days. The fact that he made it back to the UFC, I thought was actually pretty, incredible. And then, again, he's only 34 years old. It's just the wear and tear, the going out there and the fighting for these long periods of time against tough level competition, the weight cuts, the grind, the wrestling, all these things are just haven't gone good for him. As far as fighting in Japan goes, he had the wrestling advantage over all these guys. It was the rule set that beat him, How you finish up is super important in Rise and not exactly how you start. They're not looking at, you won the first 2 rounds, Anthony. So he's losing these split decisions in fights that he otherwise probably should have won. It's that fight with Gustavo Lopez, right? Gustavo Lopez figures to be more of a boxer. His takedown defense, not exactly great. We've seen him exposed in that element. He's just kind of, a mid-level guy at best. And he chin checks him, hurts him, takes his back, chokes him out. Birchak had absolutely nothing to offer. Ended up taking a grappling match after that, caught in a guillotine choke. And so here's the problem with Anthony Birchak. He's a BJJ black belt, and yet submitting him, guys do it all the time. Doesn't seem like it's the most difficult thing in the world, right? He's a natural wrestler, wrestled in college, right? He gives up 2 takedowns to Gustavo Lopez. He got taken down twice by Delano Lopez. Like, his takedown defense is spotty, man. So it's like, okay, well, what does he do? Well, maybe he's going to, go out there and land his hands, but I don't know. I honestly just think that Anthony Birchak's a guy that's just kind of puzzled out there. And with Tony Gravely, he's got good cardio, but beyond that, it's just like he just sticks to the same game plan, which is like wrestle, wrestle, wrestle. His fight with Brett Johns is extremely entertaining. I mean, these guys went back and forth position for position, and you just kind of saw that, like, in a really taxing fight like that, it does take its toll on him, but he's just working a tremendous amount. That's the way to beat him. It's just like grind him down, tire him. But there's no doubt about it, man. He scored 5 takedowns on Brett Johns. That's impressive. Then his last fight against Geraldo de Freitas, again, in the 3rd round, he did get tired. But 7 takedowns landed against Geraldo de Freitas. It's like the work's already done. Maybe he's tired in the 3rd, but like the work's already been done. And that is what I kind of expect to happen here with Anthony Birchak. I think that he's just going to go out there. He's going to take him down. He's going to chain wrestle him. And he's just going to continuously keep trying to take him down, hold position. He's faster than him. He's got a little more left in the tank. He's the better offensive wrestler. And as far as cardio goes, like, Birchak's cardio is not great himself. So even if he's in his position in the 3rd round where he's tired, I don't see him necessarily going out there and getting finished. The problem is the minus 325 price tag. It's not exactly the best price tag going 3-1, Tony Gravely, but I think that's very much everyone's writing off Birchak. We didn't think he'd make it back to the UFC. He does. They give him a very, very winnable fight in Gustavo Lopez. He looks awful. Where does he go beyond this? Where does he go? How does he progress? With Tony Gravely, I think that he's coming into his own, and he's one of these fun guys. Now, I'm rocking the DK hat, so I'll drop this one for you. But you and I, we barely talk about DraftKings anymore at all. I mean, for reasons. But I mean, like, I think you want Tony Gravely on your lineup, man. I think he's got the capability to go out there and score 10 takedowns because he'll get the takedown. Birchak's a BJJ black belt. He's good enough to just get his way back up, and he's going to get taken right back down. He is a high price tag. I would imagine 325 would probably translate to what, $9,200 on DraftKings. But still, it's like, I think that rinse repeat with the offensive wrestling is a key here. And if he can tire out Birchak late and maybe get a submission, that'd be your little cherry on top.
That seems to make sense. I didn't have the DraftKings pricing in front of me. I'm just pulling it up here. I imagine Tony Gravely would be considerably more under-owned compared to other people in that range. Let's see what he is on the old DraftKings app. But you're thinking lots of takedowns here, right?
Yeah, that would be the key. Is that you've seen him in his Brett Johns is a judo black belt, and the guy that wrestled in the Welsh team, like the world team, like, man, taking him down is a problem. And yet you see Tony Gravely, he's really quick. He trains at American Top Team. He's got a great setup to his shot. He's really athletic. His top control isn't great, and that's what allows opponents to get back up. But when you get back up, he just takes you right back down. It reminds me of a little more refined and more willing to wrestle version of Miles John. Yeah, guys like that will rack up points. And racking up points, I mean, I'm not looking for the most spectacular performance. I'm looking for a winning performance. And that would be the way here. Go against Birchak, take him down. He's been spending a lot of time working on his grappling, but it's not translating. Again, only 34 years old. But Tony Gravely, I mean, I should say he's no spring chicken. He's 29. He is a spring chicken. He's just going to rinse repeat with these takedowns until he eventually gets his hand lifted or he picks up a 3rd round submission victory. My last point being, a lot of people have been like, hey, man, he's tired in that Geraldo Freitas fight. He's tired in that Brett Johns fight. He puts in a lot sign me up in those fights. Those guys make him work the whole time. I think Birchak's a little more accepting of what's happening. And for that reason, Gravely will have a little more success. So sign me up for Gravely. And again, I think he'd be a decent DK play as well.
Yeah, he's the most expensive guy on the slate. He's $9,400, but he's last fight out against De Freitas, 7 takedowns, 10 minutes of control time, or almost 11 minutes of control time. Not too many significant strikes, but when you're getting 7 takedowns against him, 5 takedowns against Johns, I mean that definitely adds up. And this is a fight that is lined up for him to win. What were you saying? Sorry.
Just click real quick. What did he score in the De Freitas point for DK points?
110 points.
Okay, so there's my point right there. He landed like 29 significant strikes. He hardly landed any
49 significant strikes, 7 takedowns, 86 strikes, because they changed the scoring since we used to do it on the show here. Right. But yeah, almost 10 minutes and 55 seconds of control time. So that'll get it done.
That's what you want, baby.
At 110 points, people are not going to own them. But you're going to have to find underdogs that to fill out that roster, which is a little easier said than done. Anyway, let's move on. This next one, I got no opinion. We got Josiane Nunes taking on Zara Fairn, -125 Nunes, +105 Fairn. You got a hot take here?
No, I really don't have a hot take. I'm going to retape this one just to make sure because, yeah, it's like, where do you really go with it? You got Zara Fairn on one hand. She's looked obviously very, very bad in the UFC. But, I mean, you got to give her one thing. She fought Megan Anderson at 145 pounds. Not exactly a tough fight. Considering there's like, what, 545 pounders in the entire division. Megan Anderson happens to be like the second or third best one. It's a tough go. She ends up getting triangle choked. That in itself is even a bigger problem. You're getting submitted by her. No problem. Then you get Felicia Spencer. They gave you the number 2 girl in the division. Like, there's just not enough bodies to go around. So what do you do? I mean, where do you fight? And also, how good realistically is she? So you take those fights off the table. She beats Isabel Bardurek, right? UFC veteran. She has also got win over Carrie Hughes. And then that, I always pronounce this wrong. I always call her.
Was that Isabella de Padua that you meant?
No, Bardurek.
Who is that? That's
Isabel.
a UFC veteran? What's the name?
No, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm wrong. No. Yeah, no, I'm fucking totally right on this one. She fought Alexandra Albu back in the day.
Who? Bardurek.
Buddy, trust me.
Oh my God.
Buddy, I see the name and it's just like how my brain works. It's like UFC veteran.
Oh my
God! Tell you what event.
One fight in the UFC.
Yeah, but she's a UFC veteran, Paul. Did I not say she was a UFC veteran? Did I say she was a world beater? I did not say she was a world beater.
She got the Max Roskopf treatment. One fight in the UFC, finished by Albu, and then never invited back. Like, that's usually they'll give you 2 fights. It must. Yeah. I can't remember that fight whatsoever. It must have been truly dreadful.
Yeah, I mean, she's no good. She's a Polish. I mean, I wouldn't even say she was a prospect at the time, but not exactly her best look. She made it to the second round against Albu, right? Won a fight against a undefeated fighter, 5-0-1 after that, and then fought Zara Fairn, and Zara Fairn just walked right through her, man. I mean, she knocked her out at minute 55 in the first round, beat her up pretty good. That fight's at 141 pounds. But it's like, if you look at that, it's like, okay, Fairn doesn't look totally bad. That split decision loss to John Kavanagh's sister, I always mispronounce this. It's not Sinead. It's
Sinead.
Sinead, you're Irish. You would know. Yeah. Sinead Kavanagh. Bro, she got robbed. She got straight up robbed in Kavanagh's own backyard, essentially, because it's Bama. They're trying to look to promote their local star European star, as opposed to the French fighter Zara Fairn. But she got robbed against Kavanagh, which it wasn't that bad. She beat up Bardurek, who would be like a higher level opponent considering what we're facing here. She got the win over Carrie. He was like not looking terrible. And then she gets Megan Anderson, Felicia Spencer. So they really did her absolutely no favors. This Josiane Nunes, at least this figures to be a more winnable fight because you've got someone that's also not fought in anybody. The only notable fighter on her record is Taylor Santos, which is 8 years ago, and she lost that fight. She's only 27 years old, but it's kind of misleading. She made her pro debut in 2013, right? So like she fought twice in 2013, took 2 years off, fought once in 2015, took 3 years off, fought once in 2018 against an 0-6 opponent, and then just comes back in 2019, fought 3 times, fought once last year. So I just don't. What do you expect out of her, right? There's not enough that you can really go by. No. As far as tape study goes, there's not a whole lot that you can physically look at. So you're just guessing.
I looked at her like a lot of people, shadow boxing on Instagram, and I was just like, I wasn't too impressed. But just like, what can I really go off of here? It was a very, very tough because Fairn's got absolutely dominated, but they are against two of the elite at 145 pounds, a division that I'm not sure really exists anymore. But obviously coming down to 135, it's really tough to have a hot take on this one.
Well, that's exactly it. So just to cap things off, when you look at Jocelyn, right, it's just like, okay, Josiane Nunes, there's not enough tape to go by, right? With Fairn, you discredit those 2 losses. The footage that you can see doesn't look too bad. Now, Fairn has 2 fights in the year. People are just auto-fading. That's what this comes down to. They're just fading Fairn because I've seen her and she's no good. I'd rather just take this shot on Nunes, right? So Fairn, both those fights are at 145 pounds. Now she's coming down to 135. This would be much better for her. She should have been fighting 35 anyways. This would be a better look for her. As far as the striking goes, I think she probably has a slight advantage. She's got to hope she doesn't get taken down. And then the last little key here, again, I'm going to try to retape as much as I can out of this. The last little key here is that Zara Fairn's 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. Didn't look totally out of place at 145. Josiane Nunes is 5'2" with a 67-inch reach. 5'2", Paul.
Where'd you get that number from?
130.
Where'd you get that number? Because on Tapology they don't have anything for Nunes.
Check out Fight Metric though. UFC
Fight Metric's
stats.
got it. Good.
Yeah, exactly.
I was wondering about that because I know that Fairn is super, super long. And it looked, when I was just looking at pictures and looking on Instagram and stuff, I was just like, it looks, do I see some T-Rex arms? And I guess maybe I was seeing some T-Rex arms.
You do. So Fairn's 6 inches taller and has a 5-inch reach advantage. Not only that, from what we have seen on tape, she's a better striker. I mean, Nunes, what you see on tape is she just marches forward, kind of lets those hands go. I think Fair's got the advantage. The one thing I don't know is I don't know if Nunes has some great grappling game. And with Fairn, like when she's on her back, she's totally a fish out of water, man. Mm-hmm. So yeah, am I worried? Yeah, but like very reluctantly with very little to go off of and mostly just speculation. It's a Docker pass. And Zara Fairn is your underdog at plus 105. So that's where I would be sitting. But yeah, if you're a non-degen, the fact that you're watching our show, you're probably a degen. If you're a non-degen, you don't bet this fight. If you want a little action, I'm thinking that you would just take that underdog side and go Zara Fairn. Hope that this fight stays standing and hope that, again, if Nunes had fought Megan Anderson and Felicia Spencer, I'm telling you, it would not have gone good. So Fairn should have a fair shake finally.
Or maybe just watch this live, see if Fairn gets taken down, or if Nunes, since we were kind of, question mark about what her grappling game is like, or if she's going to be shooting for takedowns. Maybe you get a sense early on in the first 2.5 minutes or so of, if she stuffs a takedown early or something like that, maybe you can get on board. But yeah, it doesn't sound like we really love that. That doesn't sound like we really love that spot whatsoever. What were you going to say?
Yeah, so the last thing there, when I was like, maybe Josiane Nunes, her camp's called Striker's House, and she has 6 knockouts and 0 submissions. So this is going to be a striker versus striker. One's going to move forward and have a 6-inch region disadvantage. Yeah, I'm gonna go Fairn, but I think we've hit all the points that we possibly could here.
100%. All right, next up, we got Lupita Godinez taking on Jessica Penne, minus 265 Godinez, plus 225 Penne. Went back and watched Lupita Godinez's fight against Vanessa Demopoulos. And not going to lie, it was a 5-round fight. She started getting banged up a bit in like rounds 4 and 5. Obviously, both of those, like that's a freaking war, man. Props to those ladies. That was a great fight. And the first 3 rounds, honestly, I let Godinez look pretty good. Striking is her boxing seems pretty crisp. She packs a bit of a punch for a 115-pound woman. And minus 265 is obviously super wide, but we're talking about Penne here, who hasn't fought in years. Obviously, she got screwed by USADA. And all of that type of jazz, but stand-up game, pretty marginal. She's more or less a grappler. That is what obviously usually her best path to victory. Godinez does get taken down late in that fight, is in a precarious situation against Demopoulos, but we're talking round 5 when she was really, really tired. Otherwise, everything kind of checked out, and we're only dealing with a 3-round fight here. I wouldn't be surprised to see Lupita Godinez knock out Penne. I actually am more attracted to the under 2.5 rounds at plus 255, which I know we're talking about a women's strawweight fight. What are you even thinking? And like Godinez by knockout, I think was like plus 400, plus 500. I think I've seen around there. That's where I would probably go to. I don't think much of Penne at this point. She's obviously been out for some of the best years potentially of her career. She was getting finished by some of the elite in the division. Godinez seems to check out. I'm pretty impressed, and I think that the sky's the limit for her in this division. Maybe not championship caliber, but I think we have a little bit of a rising prospect who's going to show up and shine here. What do you think?
Yeah, dude, I completely agree. And I think that most people probably aren't looking at that specifically, that knockout prop, and yeah, you can get a decent price out of it, then why not? One thing with Lupina Godinez is, yeah, she's definitely got the striking advantage. She's definitely got a technical boxing advantage. And with Jessica Penne is like, she's never worn damage very well. She gets hit. I'm not going to say she's got a big schnoz. You can make out that decision for yourself. But like when she gets hit, it blows up, man. And once it blows up, it bleeds. She's got to leave her mouth open because she can't breathe out of her nose. And as her mouth's open, she's there to get teed off on. Now, when she's getting knocked out by Joanna and Jacek and Jessica Andrade, that's no problem, man. Joanna and Jacek took 3 rounds, late into the third to take her out. Jessica Andrade took, into the second round to take her out. It's not like she's going out there getting punched out in the first round. But again, this is 115 pounds, man. It's like these girls don't have a ton of power. Those girls got a lot of volume. Jessica Andrade got a lot of power. But it's like, yeah, they're hitting her, they're hurting her. To take a 4-year-long layoff due to USADA, to come back at age 38, I just don't know how much realistically she would have improved. Now, I get that you can make the whole Alliance MMA, and like you said, Dominic Cruz, and he's one of these guys that's able to come off these layoffs. Like it's different, man. Like she's been operating an OnlyFans, not been commentating on world-class fights and being in the gym and doing all these different things. She has spent a lot of time in the gym. She's going to come in good shape. I just think at 38 years old, it's a tough task coming back. Now, originally they bring her back. They're like, you know what? We're going to give you Jody Escobar. Shit, man. That's the UFC saying, we're really sorry about this long suspension. We're going to give you Jody Escobar. Fight gets canceled, and they actually rebook the Jody Escobar fight. That's how much they're committed to allowing this girl to succeed. Only she pulls out due to an injury. So now they give her Hannah Goldie. This is a very winnable fight for her. Right? She can win this fight. She could lose this fight.
We talked about that one not that long ago, and we were both kind of like, "Hey, this is a winnable fight for Penne, even though she's a little bit long in the tooth for this division." But
she's long in the tooth. But you know what? I mean, her striking is more refined, is more polished. Her grappling game is certainly way better. Her takedown offense is probably not good enough to take down a strong girl like Hannah Goldie. But Hannah Goldie is extremely young and raw and not extremely talented just yet. It's like she's there to expose, and this is the type of fight that you can make something happen. And then Hannah Goldie, the first time test positive for COVID. She's out of Florida, it's no surprise. And then the second time she pulls out due to injury, so you're getting Lupita Godinez on short notice. And now it's like, ooh, suddenly it's not a really a favor anymore. I mean, with Jody Escobar, she's on her way out. With Hannah Goldie, she had one fight in the UFC, really didn't look good. With Lupita Godinez, yeah, debut. And yeah, she's making it on short notice, but it's like there's a lot that you can like out of Lupita Godinez. And typically when you win the LFA title, that's like your UFC contract. Right? You know you're getting a deal, or you're very close to a deal once you win. So no doubt about it that she would have been in that spot. But actually, Lupita Godinez, from Mexico, and now trains full-time out of Vancouver, BC, right? And I'm actually very familiar with her. She shows up in BC, and coming from Mexico, she already had that boxing base. But they've really gone a long way to show up the other talent, right? Give her some takedown defense. Give her some grappling. And she's really coming to her own. So I watched her live at this BTC. It's technically Burlington Training Center. Weird name for a promotion. But this BTC 8 Eliminator, she takes on Lindsay Garbett. And again, it's for the BTC title, a 5-round fight. Lindsay Garbett is also a professional boxer and challenged for a world title in China, like had been around the world, had decent hands on her. And Godinez just beat her up, walked her down, beat her up. Made a real believer out of me. 5-round cardio, looking good. I like what I see. When she signed to fight Vanessa Demopoulos, who is hot, she came in as like a very slight favorite. And I put a bunch of money on Godinez on the basis of, I seen what this girl can do, keep this fight standing, box her up. The first 3 rounds, we're dancing. The 4th and 5th round, you're correct. She does tire down. But did her grappling look off? No. And you're taking on a legitimate grappler in Vanessa Demopoulos.
Round 5, she gets, she's really tired. She gets mounted. It's not the greatest look at the end of it. That's when she gets banged up the most. But yeah, against Penne here, we're dealing with a 3-round fight. We don't have to worry about championship rounds in this spot. It's just good for Godinez that she's even had that experience. She's not going to have to do that for at least 3 or 4 fights at this point.
At the very least. Vanessa Demopoulos' fight with Sam Hughes, right? She loses the first 3 rounds and gets boxed up. She's not a very good boxer. Let's first and foremost admit that pretty much anybody can box up Vanessa Demopoulos. It's that she keeps coming at you. She's hyper aggressive. She's got a really good ground game. So she loses the first 3 rounds to Sam Hughes. The 4th round, the second it hit the ground, inverted triangle, like done. With Godinez, when she's mounted in the 5th round, she's losing. She's tired. It's like she understands the fundamentals. She knows how to keep herself safe, and that's in the 5th round. This is a 3-round fight. I think she's got a significant boxing advantage. I think your takedown defense is good enough to just stuff the takedowns from Penne, keep this fight standing, and just paint a picture on her, right? Does she get that knockout? If she did, I would say it's going to be a 3rd-round knockout, and so I would chase that 3rd-round finish prop, which would be much better. But beyond that, I think straight up just Godinez. And she's one of your biggest favorites on the card. I actually do agree with it. I think this is a tough fight for Penne, and I think that Godinez is going to be here for a long time. Last thing that I want to say is that with Godinez straight up, and I'm not even just trying to disrespect anybody, but if she was fighting Josiane Nunes, I would pick her. And she's 2 weight classes lower. They're both 5'2", by the way. But it's like this is a girl that can box and is fighting in the proper weight class, 115 pounds. Josiane just bulldogs forward, lets her hands go, is also 5'2", fights at 135. Like, what are you doing? I think that there's a lot that you can like. Nunes there's no upside. She's not going, she might drop down to 125, hopefully gets down to 115 at some point. But beyond this, like, I don't know where she goes. Like, Godinez, she could really form into a decent title challenger, hopefully at 115. And if not a title challenger, someone that fights in the top 5, top 10. So I think there's a lot that you could be excited for out of her. And honorary Canadian, I'm totally going to back that one. Listen, she could realistically is 1 or 2 wins from being the best Canadian on the UFC roster. So Mexico, what are you talking about? She's Canadian, baby. Let's roll with it.
Lupita round 3 at Bet365. Not sponsoring the show whatsoever. Just I happened to open it up and it's not on best fight odds. Their round props don't end up over there. 16-1 Lupita round 3.
That would be my move, because I would say tire Penne out, get the nose busted, get her breathing heavy, pin her up against the cage, and just unload with the flurry. That's the way to do it. That's the way to go. And I think, Penne could be in trouble. So instead of just taking up that Lupita by TKO, I think you go for that 3rd-round prop. And if you thought for whatever reason you didn't like it, take the 2nd round and the 3rd-round prop. I don't think it happens in the first if it happens at all. I think it's going to happen late. You're really going to have to put some work in, break her down, tire her out, hurt her, bloody her up, then take her out. That should happen in the 3rd if it's going to happen. So 16-1. I know you were looking at that 20-1 submission prop. I actually like this 3rd-round TKO prop a lot better at 16-1.
Yeah, I mean, I do too, to be perfectly honest. I'll probably still end up on something here. But maybe I don't know exactly how I'm going to approach it, but that's my take on it. I think Godinez, I just think that there's more I obviously can see the fight going to decision. It's women's strawweight division, but I think we've like over amplified these odds here. I could definitely see Godinez getting a finish in this spot. Finally, we've got Austin Hubbard taking on Dakota Bush. -185 Hubbard, +160 Bush. Bush coming in on very, very short notice here. Who you got here, Cody?
Yeah, I mean, Dakota Harry Bush. Like, talk about the worst name in the UFC, man. Come on. I'm hoping he loses really quick, maybe twice, and then gets cut, and I don't have to hear about it ever again. Honestly, Austin Hubbard's actually, I don't know who he's pissed off, but look at this for a minute, right? So, Davi Ramos, it's like ADCC world champion, highly skilled on the ground, and he gives a really good account of himself. Then he gets Marco Madsen. He's an Olympic bronze medalist wrestler, probably the best wrestler in the division, right? Then he gets Max Roshkopf. By the way, he did really good against Marco Madsen. I mean, cardio checked out, kept getting up when he was getting taken down, extended him into the 3rd round, won the 3rd round. It's just, these wrestlers, it's not great. Look, Max Roshkopf, dude, the guy wrestled D1 at North Carolina. He's a BJJ black belt under Robert Drysdale. Total fraud, as it turns out. And then he gets Joe Selecki, who's a BJJ black belt and like a pretty damn good wrestler. It's like they've literally done him almost no favors. The only time he took on a striker was Kyle Prepolek, and he looked good in that fight. I mean, the leg kick whole thing aside, he just marches him down. But what he's built his game on is this like counter wrestling game where you can take him down, but he works his way back up. When he works his way back up, he just pressures you. Training out of Elevation Fight Team, he's got really good cardio. And we keep talking about Drew Dober and Justin Gaethje and all the bodies that he has to work at this weight class. He's really making a lot of improvements. He's getting better. The cardio is top notch, and that's probably his best weapon. His striking's okay. He's a big body, but it's the fact that in the 3rd round, he's just as fresh in the 1st round that he starts to tire guys down. Because a lot of his opponents are wrestlers, they're opting to just wrestle. It's a very tiring game plan. Mark Madsen, I mean, when he went to the UFC Performance Institute, like the doctors there, the personal trainers, they all went on record to be like, This dude is a freak athlete, a little bit older, but one of the absolute finest athletes that's ever walked in these doors. All of his training partners talk about how he's relentless, will not tire. He's on record going before that fight being like, cardio's my best weapon, and Hubbard absolutely broke him down. The Roshkov fight, fucking guy quit. That's how tired he was, because he knew Austin Hubbard's not going anywhere. And the Joe Solecki fight, he got submitted before it really started to get going. But again, I mean, this is all stuff you go back to the drawing board and make some improvements. And I think Hubbard is. He's 29 years old. He's 5'10", which is decent. He's got a good frame for the weight class, and he just keeps chugging along. So they match him up with Nathan Levy initially. And Nathan Levy, by the way, is a fucking really good wrestler, grappler. He's getting replaced by Dakota Bush. And once you note it, Dakota Bush is a wrestler grappler. The difference there is that Dakota Bush is half the wrestler grappler that Nathan Levy was. And Nathan Levy wasn't on Joe Solecki and Marco Madsen's. You know what I mean? Like, he's proven, Austin Hubbard's proven that against the high-end guys, he can still give an okay account of himself. Not so much against Solecki, but we're going to give him a pass there. It's like he's fought in this mold and he's done good. Him against Nathan Levy was going to be the same thing. He was going to get taken down. You need to work his way back up. You need to put some pressure on this guy. You need to break him down and hopefully take him out late, or at least win 2 of the 3 rounds. With Dakota Bush coming in on like a week's notice, I don't think he's going to get the take. If he does, I expect our man to wig his way back up. But if he doesn't get him down, Hubbard's just going to piece him up, beat him up, break him down. And this is another guy that I could see him winning a decision, but I could see him hitting one of these 3rd round finish props as well. Like, he doesn't go anywhere. He keeps coming down on you. He keeps marching down on you. And one thing, you can go back and watch Jaleel Willis versus Dakota Bush. Jaleel Willis is a wrestler as well. And you saw when Dakota Bush had to take on someone who knew how to wrestle, he's largely lost. Like, doesn't really know what to do after that. I think that's what's going to happen here against Hubbard. He's going to come in, shoot a couple takedowns. If he gets stuffed, he'll have to resort to his striking. But Hubbard's got a real good chin on him. He marches forward. I mean, when you're a training partner with Dover and Justin Gaethje, like, you're only going to get better. And his striking has gone a lot better. So you need to take him down and control him. I don't think Bush is going to be able to do that for 15 minutes. So Hubbard eventually finds a way, breaks him down, either takes a decision or takes one of these 3rd round finishes, late in the fight. But at minus 175, I don't think it's the worst line going. So as of this moment right now, I've got Austin Hubbard.
Breaking news, Cody. Ricardo Ramos fight dropped off.
Oh.
Ricardo Ramos, COVID protocol. So there goes Algeo, who, if he ends up somehow staying on the card, becomes, I would imagine, because they'll find some absolute schlub hanging around, right? And Algeo on DraftKings, he's 8,000. I mean, I was going to play Algeo on DraftKings anyway at 8,000. Now he's going to be 8,000 probably against some scrub off of the street. We'll see. Obviously, they haven't. I think it just got reported by John Morgan 13 minutes ago. Obviously, we're not live right now, so it's obviously more than 13 minutes ago for anybody listening right now. But just wanted to let you know, as I deleted him off of my bets page.
Yeah, that's shitty.
Sad times indeed.
Yeah, if I'm the UFC's matchmaker, which clearly I'm not, I'm picking up the phone and calling Billy Q. I want Billy Q, Bill Algeo. That would be a fun fight.
That would be a fun fight. All right, we are just about out of time. But before we go, Cody, hit him with the PRP.
Okay, so hit them with the PRP. We're going to go with, sorry, let me just bring up my odds, because we got a couple underdogs with like plus, it's like such short underdog price. We're going to go with Robert Whittaker. We're going to go with Drakkar Klose is the underdog. Chase Sherman, dog number 2. Razak Alhassan, Alex Munoz, dog number 3. Algeo's off. Austin Hubbard, Tracy Cortez, Alexander Romanov, Lupina Godinez, Bartosz Fabinski, Zara Fairn, dog number 4, and Tony Gravely. So again, we're looking at 12 fights as of right now, 4 underdogs. I'm feeling good about that part. But yeah, I mean, I've been trying to tape study this Bellator card. So like, there's still a little more work I find on my end that needs to be done in this UFC. I don't see myself switching into these plays. It's a confidence level thing, right? I don't think I'm going to watch anything that's going to cause me to switch the play. It depends. Who do I like the most? That's a top ticket guy. Again, if you guys know me by this point, I'm looking for these top ticket guys. I'm looking for 2 or 3 guys that are not going to fucking shit in the pie. We started off the year. We had the Joaquin Buckleys. We had the Munir Lazez. Those guys are killing that top ticket. That's what we're trying to avoid. The last 4 weeks, we're hitting all of our top ticket guys. Bellator's the exception because Goiti Yamauchi did get robbed. He was a top ticket guy. But again, you're looking for your most confident level of guys. Who are your most confident plays in this card? I don't know. There's a lot of variables, but Yeah, I mean, I got one of these feelings that we can turn this into a profitable card. 12 fights as of right now. Hopefully not a whole lot falls off. I also want to apologize if it seemed like there was an odd vibe. Like, I know we've done shows apart, and it's way better when we're in studio, but like, we had a different like camera setup. And like, as I'm sitting here, I don't know if I should look at the camera, like look down. It's got this laptop on my knee. Like, I just feel like I haven't been quick fire Cody as out of the past. But regardless, pick shouldn't matter. I'm not giving you shitty advice or phony advice. It's just I don't feel like I'm in like a rhythm right now. I don't feel like super entertaining on today's show. But regardless, entertainment's secondary to winning. So hopefully we can turn this into a winnable event and profitable, I should say. Winnable is not a word. Anyways, yeah, thanks as always, Paul Shaughnessy. And hopefully next week, COVID protocol not in place, we'll be able to do it in studio and have a couple beers.
It always makes it weird with our setup here. One, like this is more of like a setup for me to switch from behind the camera. I've got a little keyboard right here, so that's what you've been hearing in terms of it's set up for somebody to be a producer. And the thing is too, is that if I speak, I will wash out Cody's voice. So I've been trying to like actively not engage back and forth, kind of letting him have his wheel, and then I'll say what I have to say because it gets all washed out. Then people get triggered in the comments. So that's what kind of threw it off. But we're actually moving out east at the end of the month here. I'm going to be setting up for at least this show more of an ideal setup for the both of us just to kind of shoot the shit together like as if we were in the same room, because this setup that we've got right now is more for one person to host a show and the other person to be the guest of the show, if that makes any sense. It makes it a little bit awkward. And I'm just like staring into, I'm staring at a camera into the void here. There's nobody else here. It's a little bit weird. It throws off the vibe. It throws off the energy. It gets a little bit weird to get used to. So maybe it threw it off for you, threw it off for me. Any final thoughts? Anything else?
No, dude, that's it. Like normally
I just did it right there.
So when I look at the webcam, your face is right below the webcam. So it's like I'm talking to the webcam, but I see you. It's kind of like I'm talking to you, right? Now this camera's up here. So I'm trying to talk up here. I can't see you. I'm getting lost.
No, I know. That's the way that we share it. It's you get to see whatever is up on the screen, which is great when we have like graphics and stuff going. But I obviously can I add the graphics in post in the way that we've got it set up here. Anyway, next week we've got a pay-per-view. We've got the second baptism of Jorge Masvidal, who's got no shot. I mean, he's got a puncher's chance, but George Masvidal is getting beaten again by Kamaru Usman next week.
Okay, well,
I don't care what anybody says about that.
To up the stakes for next week, we'll be in studio. We'll have a good time. It'll be much better. Shoey bet, Romanov versus Espino. Are you in? I got Romanov, you got Espino, straight up?
I mean, after the bloodbath that I took last week, what's the worst that could happen? I have a shoey here in studio. I haven't been bringing that boot in for a while. The weather has been clearing up here in Toronto. Anyway, that is it for us. Shoey bet. Shoey on the line. Espino versus Romanov. I just think that Espino has a little bit more of the complete game at this point. Anyway, but that is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody Saftic, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.